spills of powerboat racing. Whether it be in Formula 1, Formula 4, juniors or even monohulls. Hydroplanes are also very exciting to watch as well. This video footage, taken over the British circuit over the last 6 years, shows you some of the dangerous moments in powerboat racing. Some of the circuits are in lakes, some of them are in docks, some of them are on rivers. Whether the water is choppy or smooth, the results can still be catastrophic. These powerboats are almost a work of art. And sometimes they don't necessarily stay in that way. The start of a Grand Prix is always very important, and in this case, everybody gets it right. Unlike this incident here, it's Derby 1995, and it's the start of the race, and James Pepperell in boat number 7 seems to be getting in a bit of a sandwich. The boats head off towards the top turn. And they will make it safely round. Or do they? As the boats came down, the race leader being Mike Ashton, a different result was to be for James Pepperell, who seemed to have sunk in the middle of the course. The rest of the boats returned back to the pits. The race was stopped. James Pepperell's boat arrived back at the pits too, but not in necessarily the same order as it left. As we see here in slow motion, we can see that James Pepperell's boat was very, very close to Carlos Madonna. Colin Jolf's boat also lifting very high, but James Pepperell seems to be in the middle of the whole field. It's Nottingham 1996. Once again, it's the start of the race. 20 boats started this Grand Prix, and they all head off towards the first turn. Nottingham, of course, is a very narrow circuit. 20 boats going into that first turn, something was bound to happen. One of the boats rolls over. He gets cut up by another driver, resulting in the other driver to barrel roll. In go the rescue, and the race was stopped. In slow motion, you can see that one driver cuts across the front of the other. His boat then skips into the air and then digs in. In fact, the boat submerges almost, and then resulting in a barrel roll. You can see how quickly the rescue also responded. The red flag was shown. It's the restart. 19 boats this time in this race, and they all make it safely around the first turn. Everyone taking avoiding action. But it isn't necessarily the first turn which can cause problems, as Mark Pepperell found out. Here we see Mark Pepperell running up the turnbuoy in the background. Watch out for the spray. Yes, there it is. And just in case you did miss that, there it is again in slow motion. It's Fairford, 1994. Once again, the start of the Grand Prix, and they're heading down towards the island turn. Carlos Madonna leads. Paul Blackburn is second, but watch out for the Marshall sandwich. Alan Marshall right in the middle of the pack. spins off into the island. In fact, if you look carefully in slow motion, you can see that Alan Marshall was nudged. He had nowhere to go, and then got nudged by Anthony Hiscoturns to the island. Alan Marshall finding himself buried in that boat. Marshall lifts up the cockpit, looks around, and then decides to get out of the boat. Probably wondering what on earth happened. So, Alan Marshall climbs out of the boat. The rescue come in to assist Alan Marshall, and Alan Marshall seems to be okay. In come the Osprey rescue team. Alan Marshall discussing what happened with one of the rescue crew. So Alan Marshall climbs aboard the Osprey rescue boat, and he is then taken ashore to be checked out by the doctor. On the restart, only 4 boats, and Colin Shelf has a near one with James Peverell. But they all make it safely round. Alan Marshall's boat, however, was left on the bank throughout the whole of the day. This is how they got the boat out. It's the Formula Falls, also at Fairford. Another start of another race. And Mark Terry almost goes out of shape going towards the island turn, but he manages to keep it under control. Hydroplane racing is a totally different form of racing. It's Derby, the World OSY 400 Championships in fact, and it's very, very rough and windy. Some of the drivers choose to kneel down in these boats, others lay down. However, the result can still be the same, and it's one of the buoy turns, and it's very rough up that end of the course. In fact, too rough for one driver who seems to run over the turn buoy. In slow motion, we still can't work out exactly what happened. A lot of boats and a lot of spray. Watch out for the brown boat. And there he is. A complete power roll. It's back to the Grand Prix boat. Two brothers here battling it out beside each other. It's the two Peverell brothers, Mark in the yellow boat and James in the purple and green one. And James Peverell almost takes off. The Peverell brothers run side by side in Grand Prix racing, and they put on a spectacular show, as shown here at Chasewaters. The year is 1995, and these two really had a good thing on throughout the whole season. James Peverell trying to get the edge on his brother Mark Peverell in the yellow boat, but not succeeding. Tries to take a sneaky manoeuvre on the outside, but Mark Peverell has the advantage on the inside. They kept their boats in one shape and in one piece that weekend, unlike one of our drivers, Larry Gage, boat number 12, who's returning to the pits after making contact with Carlos Medana. The Peverell brothers still continue to battle it out. Gage is out of the race. There we see Jamie Starr in one of the Formula 4 boats. His boat lifts off and then he manages to get the boat back on the water whilst trying to overtake one of the back markers, Erica Erler. A similar incident between the two Team 2000 boats. It's Nottingham. It's 1996 and you can see how rough the water gets. Also on the same circuit but a different year, the Grand Prix boats once again leave the start of the pontoon. It's very important to get a good clean start if you're going to make it throughout the race. It wasn't necessarily the incident which happened here. Madonna barrel rolls cleanly over the top of Roger Blower's. Roger Blower's boat hooks and runs up the bank. Carlos Madonna loses his engine cowl. He lands up the right way. Makes it back to the pits. Roger Blower's climbs out of the boat, has a look around and probably wonders how he ended up on the bank. Carlos Madonna returned back to the pits and he was racing later. Another incident that weekend was for Jerry Lambert. He finds himself upside down, a barrel roll in fact at the end of a race. This was Jerry Lambert's first ever powerboat racing accident in fact. Jerry seems to be happily floating in the water. His boat then proceeds to sink. Jerry doesn't seem too concerned about what's happening to his boat and he's waiting for the Osprey to pick him up. Jerry climbs aboard the Osprey Rescue Team boat. His boat is now completely sunk. Marhol racing is another exciting form of powerboat racing. These boats bounce up and down at the top of the water. Here we see Michael Stark in action, one of Britain's top powerboat drivers. Smith, another powerboat driver who likes to live life right on the limits. Here we see Dave Smith in action, in fact, at Nottingham. He pushes that boat almost beyond control. The boat lifting up off the water. This wasn't a one-off thing, it happened on 2 or 3 laps. So here's a bit of Dave Smith action. Driver indeed, which is more than can be said for this hydroplane driver, Sarah Winsel. She's fallen out of her hydroplane at one of the turns at Nottingham. The floating stretcher goes in for her, and Sarah is safely rescued. Once again back at Nottingham, and you can see one of the drivers there almost takes off at the start of the Grand Prix. Looking at it in slow motion, it's quite incredible how he manages to keep the boat down. Going up. Going down. Start of a Formula 4 race once again. It is Fairford 1993. Steve Hill lifts the boat very highly, but he manages to keep his boat under control. They head down towards the island. Steve Holt, though, gets in someone's prop wash. And watch as he goes across the prop wash, and his boat lifts off. The prop wash off Richard Wood's boat acts as a launch pad for Steve Holt. He takes off. It doesn't look any different in slow motion either. You can see Steve Hill pushing his boats to their extreme limits. But Steve Holt was in fact the man who done the complete somersault. The boats head down towards the island. Steve Holt gets it all wrong as he goes across the rooster tail of Richard Wood. And there you can see the boat lifting off into the air.
Once again, the boat
crash into the water. Rescue immediately on hand.
This was a very dangerous moment here for two particular drivers, Carl Everest and Paul Harris.
Carl Everest lifts his boat high into the air. Here we see in slow motion. Watch out for the red and whites in the picture. So he takes off, he lands back the right way. Paul Harris couldn't take any avoiding action and has no alternative to go right over the top of Carl Everest. And here it is once again. Still at Fairford. And William Long is battling it out with Brian Shoulder. All he has to do is catch up to Shoulder and he can be in a good position.
Watching it happen because he's going through. So William Long is now through into fourth position. And Mark Terry, he will be happy with that. Now found himself relegated to fifth. And looks like there's no problem. Looks like there's a turn at the top.
And yes indeed, there was a problem. William Long hit the turn buoy. Here's somebody else with a problem. Carl Kinder. He's got a major problem there. You can see the Carl Kinder makes it down to the pit turn buoy. And that boat seems to be getting slower and slower. Into the turn and the spray is getting worse. Carl Kinder looks in his mirrors and he realises that the problem is more serious than what he thought. Carl Kinder pulls out of the race and the boat sinks and the rescue manages to recover the boat and tow it back to the pits. Once again, it's some monohull racing. Mod VPs this time. Here's some Mod VP action at Sturpey.
96 in fact takes the lead. Let's go 53. Robinson then goes up the top there, along with the rest of the Mod VP match. You can see that there's holes in the water that these boats leave there. As you can see there with Carl Robinson, as his boat just looked round the buoy there. Meanwhile, 31 there, back to black, having all sorts of difficulties, turning back, in fact, getting into all sorts of difficulties there. Boat number 42 with big problems. And it's, of course, David Moat. Big problems for him. So it's round the pit turn buoy once more.
An interesting battle, in fact, was taking place between the back to black boat and number 96.
Together. So back to black on the outside. And I think it's 26 on the inside, but
What disaster happens here?
And he's gone! So
Jim Howard takes the buoy turn wide.
and you can see
Hits a rough wave and loses control.
31 right up the side of the other boat. Let's have a look at that once again in slow motion.
In slow motion, it doesn't look any different. Jim Howard just with a nose in front. They approach the pit turn buoy. Jim Howard has almost a boat length now on his rival. There's Jim Howard. And he now goes into the turn. There's the marker buoy, in fact. But look how wide Jim Howard takes it. He allows his fellow competitor to go through on the inside. and it's here where it starts to go terribly, terribly wrong. Jim Howarth's boat bounces out of control. It catches him unaware. He heads towards the other boat and smashes into the side of it. Jim Howarth almost falls out of the boat. In fact, the only thing that's left in there are his legs. His co-driver pulls him back to safety. Jim Howarth appears to pat the water. Some really exciting driving there from the Mod VPs. We're back at Sturpey again, and it's the Formula 4s.
Something's happened there. A big accident once.
Tony Humphries has to come together with the Turnboy. Not a good idea at Sturpey. The Turnboys are made of concrete. Tony Humphries pulls off the race course. It's here where his boat proceeds to sink. And these are the events that follows.
He's got a big problem on the hand. The race will be stopped now.
Tony Humphries climbs out of the boat. He keeps that boat almost floating upright, and the engine is out of the water. In come the rescue, and Tony Humphries climbs aboard the rescue boat. Tony Humphries perfectly okay, which is more than what can said for his boat. In fact, Tony Humphries' boat now seems to have sunk completely. Tony Humphries returns back to the shore, and so does his boat. You can see the damage there, the whole pickle completely off that boat. And there is the damage. In slow motion, well, you can see what happens. He makes contact with the Turnboy, and then the water ploughs in through the boat, ripping off the sponson. It's Chase Waters, it's the Grand Prix boat, and it's the two Jelf brothers. An interesting combination, in fact. Watch this first turn. Crash, smash, and splash. Colin Jelf and Owen Jelf make contact. Colin Jelf had this to say.
I was third on the grid. I went up the outside. I was in front of the other two boats. I started my turn, but they just carried on, went straight inside, took the whole side out, and then it barrel rolled.
Carmel after the design practice.
Interesting comments there from Colin Jelf. We're at Carmel now, and the Grand Prix boat set off towards the first turn. Formula 1 Powerboat driver also joins us in this particular race, Andy Elliott. And Andy Elliott leads this particular race, the first heat in fact.
Head-to-head in very equal racing.
Elliott leads that race, and also starts to lead the second heat as well. Heat number 2, Elliott goes into the turn in the lead, Blackburn is second. But what's this? Carlos Madonna and Mark Pepperell, they both crash. Carlos Madonna is out of the race, and so is Mark Pepperell. There is his boat, and there is the reason why. Mark Pepperell's boat suffering severe front damage, Carlos Madonna's boat suffering severe back damage. In slow motion you can see that Mark Pepperell was lifting his boat extremely highly there. They go into turn 1, Blackburn is round. Carlos Madonna almost makes it round, then nudges Mark Pepperell out of the way. Both drivers perfectly okay. It's Formula 4's at Alton Broad, and it's Tony Humphries. Humphries ploughs into the Turnboy. In slow motion you can see that Turnboy just seems to be in the way again. This time he gets it all wrong on the very turn. Roger Blow is doing a very, very clean barrel roll. Roger Blow climbs out of his boat. Waves his arms in the air, and the rescue boats are immediately on hand. In the meantime, Jerry Lambert floats happily up the course. He was involved in an incident earlier where he almost barrel rolled and lost his cow. Jerry turns round and seems quite entertained at what's going on behind him. He's quite interested in fact in what happened to Roger Blowers. Roger Blowers' boat is recovered and is attached to the back of the rescue boat. No damage was done to Roger Blower's boat, and no damage was done to Jerry Lambert's either. And both of these drivers miraculously are in the second heat. It's Fairford 1996, and Alan Marshall and James Pefferell were having a good battle in the first heat. Alan Marshall had some new exciting driving styles this year, with more aggression than last year and the year before. Alan Marshall in the boat number 34 Albert Paper sponsored boat completes another lap, and he's trying to catch up to James Pefferell, who is in third position. Mark Rolls in boat number 22 was laying in second. Jerry Pitchman was leading the race. James Pefferell was going up the course on the inside. Alan Marshall was on the outside, and it was a very, very close battle for this third position. Pefferell turns still in third, and Marshall's going to get there. And he almost does. Both of the boats going flat out into the wind, and it is very, very windy here at Fairford. But nobody expected this. Alan Marshall flips completely. A huge accident there from Alan Marshall. Alan Marshall surfaces from the boat. One of 1996 most spectacular accidents. Here we see it from a different angle, and it looks just as horrific. Marshall takes off, and then you can see Alan Marshall driving that boat to the extreme limits. The boat lifts off and then round and almost round again, plunges backwards into the water, and a big spray as the boat splashes down into the water. It's Stuart Peake, and it's 1995. Rivera Gondiardi on the Suez 2000 was trying to challenge Anthony Hiscock. Once again, the wind is very strong. Dives through and sees the opportunity to go through on the inside of Anthony Hiscock. So into sixth position goes Rivera Gondiardi, and he's flipped. Gondiardi has flipped after taking sixth position. His boat lifted right up into the air, and the race is going to be stopped. There is left back in back. Rivera Gondiardi. Here it is in slow motion. You can see him lifting that boat there. And there he is on the point of no return. Going, gone. Thank you.